Merry Christmas and happy playoffs and welcome to the Fantasy Forecast Waiver Wire Show on the Fantasy Football Advice Network right here on YouTube and on Twitter. I am Biggs. He is Grindberg. We are your hosts for the show, and we are going to be going over some waiver wire picks. There are only two reasons that you're watching us right now. Number one is you are in the fantasy playoffs heading into championship week 17. Or you just can't quit us. Play it. You just can't quit us.
I don't have it on here. I wish I had it on. It's in the other studio, man. I wish I would have known. It would have been prompted so beautifully big. That was perfect. I just can't quit you. But man alive, what a weekend of fantasy football. Hopefully, our viewers were able to get through. I know the Jalen Hurts injury early in that game really hurt a lot of fantasy managers, and it's just like such luck is involved in this game. We could prepare you all we can, but sometimes luck has a huge part of it. The top 10% of the leagues, the players in the leagues, you do your best, but sometimes luck has something to do with it near the end here. Biggs, how did you do this week?
I did fantastically. I tend to do this thing on Sleeper anyway, where I order my teams when they hit the playoffs in terms of like the playoff teams at the top, and then just kind of ignore the ones at the bottom that are like in the losers brackets and stuff. But my most important leagues, I've been winning. So all of my so the draft night out that we drafted at the Fantasy Football Expo, I advanced to the championship in that, or I should, barring some shenanigans tonight. But I set myself up pretty well. Orphan team, I got over on the Undroppables. I picked up an orphan, made the 6th seed, and now I'm in the championship. In the Undroppables that we drafted at the Fantasy Football Expo, I'm playing the expert, the founder, and beat him this week. So I'm in the championship in that. And in the Fantasy Football Advice Network, Josh Hines Allen Jersey League, I will advance in that one to the championship. So I may take down my own league and secure that Jags jersey. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it might be a nice Christmas for Schultz. Other than that, I had a pretty good week. There are some people who are out there on Twitter and like speaking to the luck aspect who are like, well, in a Superflex league, I have 2 leagues. I'm in the playoffs and both have the same quarterback combination. And it's this guy. And one of them I'm in the championship and one of them I lost. So you can construct your roster the best that you can. But sometimes Lady Luck has a way of taking you down. So you just got to be active. And it's not necessarily the drafters that win their leagues. It's the guys that make trades and play waiver wire. And that's what we're here for. So we're here to give you a little boost for your championship. How are your teams?
You know what? I did pretty good this weekend, actually. I advanced in a couple of my big leagues. I picked up an orphan for the Dynasty Pros League, and I ended up advancing there to the final, which is a tough feat when you pick up an orphan in a Dynasty. You never know. You make a bunch of trades, so I felt good about that one. I'm in the thick of it in one of my big money leagues. My team scored the most points. I need some help tonight. I need Jordan Love to not do super well, but there's a chance I get through there. In the club championship for the Undroppables, I advanced to the final. It looks like I'll be facing chalk in that one. And then in the football guys, large in the football bowl, that's a large tournament that over 2,000 entered, and right now I'm sitting in the top 30 in that. So looking good to advance. And, a couple of my teams got eliminated this weekend, but that's just how it goes. And, I was thankful that I got to the semifinals in a bunch of leagues, but I got a bunch of, 3 or 4 leagues that are headed into the final here. So I got a shot at a couple championships.
Yeah, it sucks to get knocked out, but as long as, I'm looking at 1 or 2 teams that are getting knocked out, the other 6 that are advancing makes that feel much better. Let's talk about some waiver wire pickups. A lot of people out there are a couple of really big time injuries that happened over the weekend. Number one is Jalen Hurts. He was concussed, left the game after 11 plays. Kenny Pickett finished it out, allowing Jaden Daniels to have his offensive rookie of the year signifying performance, throwing for 5 touchdowns. And, we all have Jaden Daniels because you guys watched this show and we told you all to draft him. But Jalen Hurts is out. And if you are one of the unlucky few that have him in the concussion protocol right now, there's a chance that he doesn't play this coming week. So we're looking at the waiver wire. And this is championship week. This is the week of the chip. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be looking at players and not worrying about how they're rostered, because there are only 2 teams that are left. That's you and the other one. And it's going to be a dogfight with those waivers. So if they are okay in quarterback situation, then they're probably not going to block you. However, here's the thing. One of the best strategies in fantasy football, especially when it comes down to money weeks, is you want to be playing the waiver wire to block other players. Figure out what your starting lineup is, who your guys are that you absolutely have to have in the lineup. Then that leaves some of your bench and your injured reserve to kind of play around a little bit. So say your other guy has Jalen Hurts, right? And he doesn't necessarily have a great quarterback in the flex or on his bench. I'm looking right now at Matthew Stafford, Caleb Williams, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers on the waiver wire. Go and pick them all up and then drop them once free agency hits. Target the best one to use your waiver claim on. Look at your opponent's roster and figure out at what position he has the best chance for you to go in and play the dirty game. It's all fair, baby. You're trying to win a championship. So we get cutthroat and we do this. So I have a guy that I'm playing against. He's got Jalen Hurts. I have Aaron Rodgers with the best matchup next week. I'm grabbing Aaron Rodgers, and then I'm going to drop him. And I'm going to pick up Russell Wilson. I'm going to drop him. And I'm going to pick up Geno Smith, and I'm going to drop him. All before this other guy will have the chance to make the waiver claim on them again.
Savvy move. I like that. I like that a lot there, Biggs. I mean, it's just a matter of, blocking your opponent and doing whatever you can to make sure that you have, the right position to win your championship. Because if you're in this position, it's a dogfight at this stage, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to just talk about a tight end then, because, you talk about a couple quarterbacks there. I'm going to talk about a tight end that's kind of emerged in the last little while. And there was an injury to Tank Dell that really, really hurt, the Texans, but somebody emerged in that offense. And, he's a guy now that is going to garner some targets. And in that landscape right now, he could actually get inserted in your lineup, in a matchup here against the Ravens. And I'm talking about Dalton Schultz. I think he's in, he's playing some of the best football of his season. He's in a great matchup on the horizons, like I mentioned, against the Ravens with Dell on the injured reserve. His role as the second option in the Texans offense has been solidified. 12 catches, 119 yards, and 2 touchdowns in his last 3 games. 15% target share since week 11, and that's only going to go up. He's had 3 red zone targets in the last 5 games, and I think in this pivotal week 17 matchup, Schultz growing role, I think he's going to have a good involvement. And it's a guy now that I'm not too worried about putting right in there and using as a streaming option, even in championship week.
Absolutely, that's a good one.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that? Obviously, you were talking about some theory work here, Biggs. Do you have any more, tips or trades that you want to talk to our viewers about this week?
Not right now, but if you go get a hold of me on the Fantasy Football Advice Network, you can chat with some people.
Where would we find that?
fantasyfootballadvice.com.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
Woo! All right. What are we doing with wide receiver? Like you said, Tank Dell was a huge loss this week. There are some rumblings that somebody's coming back. Oh, that's a running back. We'll talk about him later. But we're looking at wide receivers right now, and there are some guys on the waiver wire that had pretty good weeks in week 16 that you might want to be looking at for week 17. And again, look at your opponent's roster and figure out if he's got wide receiver needs, and then play the waiver game with these guys and pick them up, drop them, pick them up, drop them. Darnell Mooney and Josh Downs are both still on the waiver wire. Go get them. Josh Downs, 15 points this last week. Darnell Mooney had a similar game. Rashad Bateman is still out there. We watched him score a touchdown. That's after we told you to go pick him up. There are a lot of options, and again, you got to get cutthroat. It's the playoffs, baby.
Yeah, I mean, Biggs mentioned a bunch of guys that we've already mentioned on our show for weeks, so they should already be on your roster if they haven't been added, especially at this stage. There's a guy that kind of emerged this week, and I'm not too sure about his long-term upside, but he was the top target for Jaden Daniels this week. He had 8 targets in that game against the Eagles. I'm talking about Olamide Zaccheaus, and he's quickly becoming a top target potentially here with De'Ami Brown dealing with a hamstring injury. He had 24 PPR points in week 16, second on the team in targets in the last 2 games. And, 4 targets in week 16 in week 15. And then he had 8 targets this week. So looking for him to maybe emerge. He was a red zone threat, and you never know what's going to happen with that Commander offense. And he's a guy we haven't mentioned yet on this show, maybe in a deeper league, especially in those, large flex positions where you have like 5 starting flex guys. He may be a guy you may want to take a look at, especially with some of that touchdown upside, but not much out there right now as far as, difference makers at that position. Biggs mentioned a couple guys that, Mooney, who's been on our radar all season long. Jalen McMillan, again, is a guy that, if he's out there, we talked about him 3 shows in a row. Can't really talk about the guy too much more, but, he's a guy that definitely will be on your radar if he's on your waiver wire. Anybody else that you can maybe add to that, Biggs?
No, but Olamide Zaccheaus is a great call. In fact, if I remember correctly, last week I told everybody to sit Terry McLaurin and start Olamide Zaccheaus. Oh wait, I forgot the second part. All right, let's move on to running backs, and we had another injury that went down this week, and that is Arizona running back James Conner. Now, we don't know the long-term outlook. We'll have to keep an eye on that over the course of the week, but he is out, or he was removed from the game, did not return. So there are some options in that Arizona Cardinals backfield that we want to keep our eye on. And the first one is Trey Benson. Now, Trey Benson didn't really play in week 16. He was out, but there is a chance that he comes back in week 17. And if that happens and James Conner is out, then Trey Benson is the guy that you want to own. The other guy is Michael Carter. Michael Carter handled the lion's share of the work with Trey Benson out after James Conner left. So he's a guy that you want to keep an eye on. And then DJ Dallas got some work as well. In week 16, he had a catch. I heard his name. That's all I'm saying. So Michael Carter would be the guy to own in that offense. They have a matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. He had 5 carries and 5 catches after James Conner left the game. So keep your eye on Michael Carter if James Conner doesn't get to go. And then I lost no. Everybody loves this part of the show where I scramble around trying to find out what I'm doing. Jalen Warren is on waivers. Jerome Ford is on waivers. Kedre Miller is on waivers. Patrick Taylor is on waivers. So there are definitely some emergency options for you if you're hurting at running back.
Yeah, I like that call, Biggs. All of those calls. Trey Benson is one of the guys that I had highlighted on this show sheet, and it, for good reason. He had that ankle injury. He was inactive in Week 16, so something we have to monitor. But he'd be the guy I would be willing to put a bunch of my waiver wire money on, even if I, don't really know the status of James Conner right now. Because if Trey Benson does get in that role, he's the talent, and he could be definitely the one that emerged there. Another guy that I saw get a good amount of work this week, and it was far removed because it was a Thursday night game. But that's Audric Estime. Had some goal line work, scored the touchdown, 9 carries for almost 49 yards, I think it was. And he's emerging in that offense as that, solid first and second down back. Javonte Williams has not panned out this year, and Jaleel McLaughlin is obviously injured, and it just opened up the door for Estime, and he definitely looked good in his opportunity. It's a backfield that you got to be, cautious about starting anybody in that, but in a dynasty league, I'm definitely looking at Estime as a guy that I'm really, really excited about his future, and he could be a guy that is inserted in these lineups moving forward. So yeah, another guy there, Biggs.
I have him in a ton of dynasties. Also, from the news, the Chargers are activating J.K. Dobbins. So if you were rolling with Gus Edwards, you're going to want to pivot. You're going to want to check your waiver wire too for J.K. Dobbins, just in case whoever had him before dropped him to make room for somebody else, didn't want to wait around for him or whatever. So check your waivers for J.K. Dobbins because he should be back, and the Chargers are rolling along.
Yeah, the Chargers need him back too. Their offense has not looked the same, honestly, since J.K. Dobbins has been away. So I like that as well. They're Biggs. Now, you know what else I like? I like our new merch store. So if you are fancy and you want to get some new merch, check it out. Use code FSAN30 to get 30% off the Fantasy Sports Advice Network shop. Biggs, what else you got on the slate for the week?
I'm fancy.
You are fancy.
All right. Well, we have our shows coming up. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody, if you celebrate. If you don't, have a great day anyway. I will be back on Sunday morning for the season finale of Breakfast with Biggs. I will be there with your starts and sits, and I'll come up with a new cocktail. I don't know if you got to watch the show, Mike, but I made this syrup with Melinda's ghost pepper hot honey, and absinthe and orange flower water that I mixed in with some bourbon and grapefruit juice, and it was so good. So I will have a cocktail for you for a breakfast cocktail on Breakfast with Biggs season finale next Sunday. Also, we got our Starts and Sit show on Friday-ish, and injury show probably, and Queen's Ransom Wednesday night. So you can find us almost every day of the week right here on Fantasy Football Advice Network. And we encourage you to go to the fantasyadvice.com and fantasysportsadvice.com and secure your membership and stuff. Especially, and here's the big caveat. If you're just dipping your toes into the fantasy world, if you have only ever played redraft, which is when you pick your team every year. If you've only ever played in friends and family leagues or work leagues or whatever, go to fantasyadvice.com and start interacting, and you can start getting into a little bit more advanced level fantasy play like dynasty leagues. Dynasty is usually the next logical step out of the redraft, and that's when you own your players year by year. It's amazing. It's fun. And there are a ton of people, a ton of support on fantasysportsadvice.com who are good players that play a lot and are there to help work you through it and give you the advice that you need and all that stuff. And also we'll have leagues for you next year. So if you are interested in getting into more advanced fantasy play, we are here for you, and come on over.
We are here, and absolutely, Biggs. I love that sentiment there. And one more thing that we didn't add is it's our season finale of PAT on Thursday night. So be sure to check us out live, and that's going to be a great show. So yeah, let's go building championships. That's how we do. Let's go, Biggs. Let's have a great week. And what do we say at the end of every show, boys?
Unless your name is Jax Falcone, we hope you win.
We hope you win. Peace out.
We are here. We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to fantasysportsadvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to fantasysportsadvice.com today.